Please remember that things are different in the Bandit Kingdoms. Heroes can be made, bought, or sold, all in the same day and all dependent on the situation and the price. The question isn't, what's the right thing to do in a given situation, but rather, what are the ramifications of any decisions I make? Whose bad side do I not want to be on? Or, when will I need to call in a favor? Remember, everything's negotiable in the Bandit Kingdoms. Some things are more negotiable than others. Ulick dismounts from his horse and looks towards Rookroost in the distance. He waves his arm expansively, and there she is. Home sweet home. Rookroost sits upon a low rise surrounded by walls. In the center, a spire juts into the sky surrounded by a dark flock of ravens. The party pauses for a moment to take it in and then begins their journey towards the town. Poorly constructed shacks and shanties begin to appear, along with the squalor of the refugees huddled outside trying to get inside the city. Orcs and hobgoblins are common, and humans are raggedy and starving. Corpses of animals and the occasional person rot in the gutters. A flock of ravens flies by. Sewage runs openly in small, hastily dug trenches. Flies buzz. An adult poops in a trench, and a human corpse is swarming with maggots. The party goes through the outwall gate, and their hair goes still. Pappy sniffs. His eyes go wide, and he covers his mouth and nose with his hand. Pappy begins to retch uncontrollably and then vomit. Oh, dear! All close their eyes and put their hands over their ears. Sabako gags but holds it, while Grawl hums to herself, smiling. A small line is waiting at the Funary gate. A large orc checks papers and takes money from travelers as they entered. Markle looks annoyed at Pappy. A group of zombies carrying large square stones walk by, led by a cleric of Ayus. Markle says, "Almost time for the auction block." The party is at the head of a line of people seeking entrance at the gate. A large gate stands open before them, framed by crenellations and spanned by a stone walkway. Ulick addresses a large orc, says something in Orcish, hands him some papers in a small pouch. The large orc hands back Ulick papers and one more piece of paper. Ulick walks up and hands a piece of paper to Pappy. "This will allow you to go with us to the Drunken Dragon to drop our load. Then we head to the auction block. Unless..." Wagon crosses through the Funary gate. Just as they are coming out the other side, Ulick is interrupted by a commotion coming from outside the front gate. "Paladin at the walls! Paladin at the walls!" "Oh, we ain't gonna miss this. Come on. Footman, stay with the potatoes." All dash to the stairs leading to the top of the wall. Orc guards try to stop them, but Ulick hands them some coins and they make way. The party arranges themselves atop the wall, while many other spectators also gather to watch. Orcs, hobgoblins, and humans are the bulk of those present in the crowd. We zoom to a small patch of that crowd, and we see Raedric, who has dark hair, dark complexion, and handsome. He's rakish in demeanor and flamboyant. We have Lorien, who has red hair. She's pale and athletic and cute. And Gale Markala, who is mousy with impish short brown hair, scrappy and with a neutral-looking complexion. They're speaking while looking at the party. The party is looking outside the walls. "I see they made it back successfully. Who's the old man?" "I guess we shall find out soon." "A new toy to play with." All look out from atop the walls, which are crowded with onlookers. Boos and jeers come from the crowd. "He's too far away. I can't see shit." Man, I got an idea. Give me that dress. These guys are suckers for damsels in distress. Alec grabs the dress and waves it like a flag. He yells at the top of his lungs, doing his best female impersonation. "Help us! Help us, please!" The crowd and Alec burst into laughter, and the crowd begins to mimic him. "Help us! Help us!" The paladin, shiny full-plate armor, winged helm, lance, shield, a horn on his belt, and a war mace, cocks his head, rears his white horse on its hind legs, and lets loose his shield, which floats in the air beside him. Growl jumps excitedly, pointing at the shield. Her boobs bounce into Pappy's head. Pappy winces, pawing them away. "Oh, loot! Loot! Loot!" The paladin draws his sword and raises it to the heavens. A blue bolt jumps from the tip of the sword into the clouds above. The clouds part majestically. Rays of sun shine down onto the paladin's armor and shield, which dapple in the glow of sunlight. The paladin rears his horse again, takes off his helmet, revealing his face. He blows a stag horn, puts his helmet back on, and charges towards the walls. Does this happen often? Since the end of the war, yeah. This is what we're up against. It's either these guys, points at the orcs on the wall, or those guys, gestures towards the paladin. Markle rubs his hand together and grins. Ooh, that guy's stacked and packed. That sword has got to be a full-blown Holy Avenger, and his shield is animated. So much loot. Loot! Loot! Growl points at the floating shield and jumps up and down, making her boobs bounce awkwardly. Pappy turns his head, shielding his eyes with one hand. Troops swarm out the gate. As they close with the paladin, he lowers his lance and charges, scattering them and killing many. He reaches the end of his pass, rears his horse up on its hind legs, and he calls down a pillar of fire, scattering a group. Arrows bounce harmlessly off his armor and shield. Another sortie exits the gate, and the paladin gallops around in a short circle, gathering them up for the paladin to exclaim, "Die!" All the monsters around him simply fall to the ground, lifeless. Then he calls another pillar of fire and toasts a charging ogre. The crowd laughs and howls at the death below. A pocket of silence forms, and a chant begins and grows. Chad, 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 Chad. What? Mortoth really hates orcs, so if they get assigned in town, they have to take names in common. Alec shrugs his shoulders. Chad's actually quite a popular name. And now we see Chad. A huge orc, black plate armor and skull cap, carrying a huge black battle axe which drips black. He emerges from the gate and heads towards the paladins. His muscles clench and his shoulders heave as he rips breath in and out of his body. Froth forms on his lips. He turns to the crowd, does a flex pose and roars, then sprints towards the paladin with the cheering of the crowd behind him. The paladin engulfs Chad in a column of fire, but Chad is barely singed and never stops his sprint. The paladin charges Chad, drawing his sword. Chad leaps high into the air, his axe glinting in the sunlight. And now we go to slow-mo. The paladin raises his sword to block Chad's blow, but the blow is aimed at the sword itself. The axe meets the sword with an explosion, and the sword is shattered, its magic escaping with a concussive blast. In slow-mo. Pappy's face is filled with horror. The paladin is taken aback by his sword shattering, but he gathers himself and draws his war mace. The animated shield leaps to defend the paladin. Chad rips a huge hole in it with his axe, causing it to burst in a burst of black magic. Pappy's face is one of surprise, and the crowd is jeering. The thunderous release of magic knocks them both to the ground. The crowd gasps. Growl sobs in shock and begins to cry at the death of the animated shield. Pappy pats Growl on the shoulder. The paladin lands on one knee while Chad lands on both feet. The paladin gets in one feeble swing at Chad when Chad rents a huge hole in the paladin's armor. Blood pours out the hole. Pappy is now giggling, laughing with the crowd. Chad knocks the paladin's helm off with the next swing, splitting it nearly in two. Pappy is now laughing, and the crowd is very much laughing. The paladin breaks his rod of recall and leaves in a flash. The horse runs away while Chad reaches down, picks up the battle horn, and blows it loudly. The walls erupt with cheers. The party is laughing uproariously. Pappy turns to the party. "All right, goddammit, I'm in. Let's be bad guys." And so, our brave band of heroes has embraced destiny. Now all that remains is to turn in their taters and get another job. The adventure continues as our heroes go to meet their contacts at the Rook Roost Thieves Guild and maybe wet their whistles at the bar. The adventure is just beginning. If you would like to help continue this project and get involved, please just feel free to give me a holler on my Facebook or through YouTube. We could use an artist, and more voices never hurt. We'll end up being repackaging this in its whole length with a little bit more, I don't know, professionalism? Who can say?